the subject of envelope generators, because we haven't talked about them yet, and maybe it's a good idea to just give a quick introduction into the envelope generators. Basically, the envelope generator is a dual envelope generator, but it produces two envelopes of different slopes, but they're linked together. They're always clocked by the same clock. You cannot use them separately. But we have two dual fader modules, so you do have two complete ones. The idea is that one envelope is often used for a volume or amplitude envelope over a sound, and the other envelope is used to create some sort of modulation effect in that same sound. So if we just sort of listen to a very simple drone by using this first voice and just giving it a gate, open the volume here, open the filters here. Can I get a bit more volume? Thank you. Yeah, that's enough, that's enough. If we slow it down, the envelope that now controls the volume, that makes it go on and off, has 5 associated knobs. One defines the attack time. If you set the attack time too long, then the attack will not come up to a point where you have enough volume, and then the next trigger comes and it will start again from 0, so you basically sort of lose volume. Now, if you have a polyphonic synthesizer and a keyboard player, he would love this behavior, because that means that he can use a slow attack, press a key, and when he thinks now I have enough volume for that note, release the key, and then the key goes off. But if you do sequencing and you control it from a sequencer, very often the pulses that come from sequencers are quite short, and that means that the envelope does not have enough time to sort of get up to volume. And for that I introduced a switch here, which in the top position it sets gate, that means keyboard player, and in the down position it says trick, and there that means sequencer or drone or whatever. But the interesting thing is now that in this mode the attack will always continue until it comes to its highest point, and only when it's at its highest point it allows to be re-triggered. Which is interesting, because if the attack now becomes larger than the time between two triggers, it will start to skip triggers. Which becomes sort of like a frequency divider. Okay. There's also a release knob that defines how long the release time will be when after the gate goes off. Then you hear that the sound already becomes more natural. Then on traditional envelope generators you only find 4 knobs. You find attack, decay, sustain and release. Basically that means that you press a key, the envelope goes to the attack, through the attack phase to its maximum value. If the key is then still pressed, it will go down with a rate defined by a decay knob to a certain sustain level, and as long as you keep the key pressed, it will keep static at that sustain level. But that is a very static phase, that sustain level, and it's not what you in many instruments you don't really have such a kind of a sustain. You have it in organs, but you don't have it in pianos, because pianos will always sort of decay a bit. So I added an extra knob, and that is basically a decay, a second decay for the sustain phase. And here is a knob that says break level, and break is basically if you open the second decay fully, it will become like an infinite sustain, and then the break knob will basically be the sustain level. But then if you have a certain sustain level, like this, this is the first decay, and especially if we are a bit slower, you can hear that the sustain is a very static state. But if I turn this knob down, you can add a decay to that. Especially if you're playing with long notes, it pays off to use this knob. Okay. Basically, the attack time, the first decay time, the second decay time, and the release time can be modulated with control voltages.